It's a Seattle Kraken game day, and Matty Beniers is celebrating a special milestone.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. Want to let you know or remind you, if you're not a college football listener or watcher, the college football playoffs are here, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. The college football playoff presented by Allstate begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. But tonight, the Seattle Kraken will take on Climate Pledge Arena as they host the Ottawa Senators. And I've got a lot of bad blood with the Ottawa Senators, so we'll talk about that a little bit. But first, cheers to Matty Beniers. He tonight will play in his 200th National Hockey League game. He will be the third skater from the 2021 NHL draft class to reach this milestone. Of those three, Beniers, leads across the score sheet with 120 career points, 46 goals, and 74 assists. His 17 points this season rank fifth, while his 13 assists are tied for third among all Seattle skaters. He has 3 points, 1 goal, and 2 assists in 6 career games versus Ottawa. So congratulations to Matty B. Zame and I, of course, talked about Matty, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, and wanting to just have a conversation of if we should be a little bit worried about Matty. And I really think that what we heard from Dan Bylsma and Beniers himself was a good indication that, it's hard. It's hard to reach this milestone. It's hard to play in the National Hockey League. But Beniers, especially with his changed up line, Yanni Gourde being on that line, we'll talk a little bit about Yanni later. But, I think that there's still room for improvement, obviously, with Matty, but not necessarily time for alarm. I do wonder if there will be a scenario where we do see a Matty Beniers reset, but that day will certainly not be today. Here's what Matty B had to say when he was notified that tonight would be 200, because he had no idea, or at least I'm assuming he didn't by his reaction. Here's Matty B talking pregame as the Seattle Kraken get ready to take on Ottawa.
No way. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. That's, it's a dream to play in the NHL, and you get to do it every day for a job. So, I'd say we're, all the guys in that locker room and myself are pretty lucky guys, and, I just try to enjoy it.
And, I think Matty, he goes on to talk about some of his favorite memories, starting in that game on the road alongside Eberle and, friend of the pod, our dear Ryan Donato. Bring him back, make him a forever Kraken, and I'd be happy. Anyway, save that for another podcast. But, I think that Matty really takes it all in stride. He seems to be a glue kind of guy. We know that he's been responsible at times for setting up group chats and getting the team together. I do hear a little bit of maturity, even as he reflects. Of course, he was asked to reflect on 200 or 199 games, getting ready for 200. But I also liked what he had to say regarding what are some of the aspects of his game. And he mentioned one specifically that he wants to work on. And then the follow-up question, which you'll hear his response to, is, well, what does that look like for you? So here's Matty B talking about the aspect of his game that he is really focused on, on bringing and improving, and he even gives a little comp to one of his teammates.
I think it's all around for me always, I think. I always think that there's things in every part of your game that you can get better. Right now, lately it's been skating. Continue to get better. You see all the best players in the league. One thing that they have in common is they're all the best skaters in the league. So that's one thing. You can always get better, no matter how good you are at it. Always working on my shot, always trying to get bigger and stronger. So, there's little parts of all of my game that I want to get better and just continue to do it every day. And, at some point you'll start to see the results. What is the I think it's a lot of technique. I would say my edges are a strong part of my game, but I think that a lot of my skating ability comes from how hard I work. You see, you watch Chandler skate; it's very effortless, right? Mine's not as effortless. So I'd say I work a lot harder to skate at top speed than he does. So that's what you're trying to get to when you say ideal skating. It's long strides, it's great technique, and it's you don't need as much energy you don't put out as much energy to get to top speed.
I mean, you can say a lot about Matty B, but yet a laborious skating is more his style. It's not effortless, as he said, but I love that he's working on that. And, he talked about what that looks like for him. So, this is a team that is only going to benefit when Matty Beniers gets comfortable, when he gets going. And I think he has been having to do some grunt work. Unlike Jared McCann, who we've also talked about, I think that Beniers, him doing the grunt work, he's not at a place yet where he's doing some of that grunt work that's necessary for the team to be successful, while also finding success, particularly by scoring goals himself. So I think that the skating aspect, which is, again, the element of his game he said he wants to work on, is going to be huge. But also, I just think finding that balance, striking that balance. And again, I do think we've talked about this on the show before. I do think at least some of that can come from the Seattle Kraken really settling into a solid line with Matty Beniers. And we talked about how that's probably the case for Jared McCann as well. But before we close out this segment on Matty Beniers' stick taps to 200 tonight, let's hear what Dan Bylsma had to say about the milestone and about Matty's progression this season.
Yeah, I probably watched 85% of his games as a Kraken. So to this point, so seen a lot of them. I think a young player growing in his game, a young player trying to figure it out, and that's the great thing about Matty is he's constantly, continually working on where he can be better at, what he needs to do to have success in the game, what he needs to do for our team to have success in the game. That's where he's every day and what does that produce? A hard-working, kind of intentful guy in everything he does. And it's a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 22-year-old growing in the game, and he's getting better and better. And he's in that fight right now. I think he's not super happy with this, how the games have gone for him personally in the last 3 or 4, and but what does that mean? He's put his head down and he's going to work. He's trying to find a solution, and I think that's what is promising about his future, is that's where his mindset is, and he will continue to get better and better.
So coming up on this episode of Locked On Kraken, let's go over what we know about these two teams. Of course, that being the opponent, the Ottawa Senators, and your Seattle Kraken. We'll get into that in the second stanza of today's episode, a game day episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken is brought to you by our friends at Built. Now, if you're a renter like me, listen up. This is a total game changer, and I just signed up for my Built account. I'm super excited because thanks to Built, you and I can now earn points on rent payments, just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. That's what got me right there. You can earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. I think it's also kind of cool that they tag certain community, different restaurants and things in your neighborhood for you to support. So it's a great way if you're looking for different places to support in your neighborhood to kind of figure that out too. And then you can redeem the points that you earn for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments with over 500 airlines and 700,000, yes, 700,000 hotels in their program. The possibilities are truly endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to only Built members. And again, this is something that I just signed up for myself. So the next few payments that I make, I've already found a new restaurant, a new taco place in my neighborhood because of Built. It was super easy to set up the bank account that I already use to pay rent and have that set up to my Built account. And then you can also set up different cards so that you're gaining points elsewhere. I use Lyft, the Lyft car service when I go to the airport, and I have already set up my Lyft account. Super easy. So start earning points on your rent that you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNHL. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNHL, and make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken also brought to you by our friends at Select Quote. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safe in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion, with a B, $billion in coverage since 1985. That's my whole life. You invest so much time to take care of yourself and be your healthiest, best version of you. Select Quote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. Once again, that's selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken. And remember, we have a new women's hockey show every Saturday on the Locked On NHL channel. So another reason for, after you listen to Locked On Kraken, of course, to head over to the Locked On NHL channel, where I, alongside Rachel Donner, will give you your weekly update on women's hockey. But let's get back to the Seattle Kraken, again, taking on the Ottawa Senators. And I said I have a bone to pick. I've got some feelings about this Ottawa team because they have bully balled us. I talked about this. I went on a rant the other day. And, the Seattle Kraken don't seem to play well. Look at that Florida game. Florida started getting physical with us right around that second frame. And the Seattle Kraken didn't necessarily have an answer for that. We're not a finesse-only team, but we're definitely not a muscle team. And the lack of finesse at times is why I think you see some of the low offensive output. But the lack of ability to appropriately respond to physical play is something that it grinds my gears, it burns my grits. And I remember being very furious one of the last times that we played the Ottawa Senators because, listen, you can say a lot about the Kachucks, but Brady is kind of all over the place on the ice. And yeah, I don't think the Seattle Kraken are ready for the smoke all the time, especially if we are looking at a lineup without Yanni Gourde, who is, by the way, day to day. But also, if he's just getting back, is the pepper pot, should he have to be the guy to enforce that? No. So I just want to get that off my chest. I want to see the Seattle Kraken be able to, if you're not going to play that way, and that's fine, it's definitely a choice, then you have to lean into your speed. You have to lean into your skating ability and give the officials no choice but to raise the hand and blow the whistle. That's the way that you beat a team that wants to be physical with you. You outskate them, you hop over them, you duck under them, or you move so fast that they have no choice but to hold you, to hand check you, or to, slash you, and all of these things. So we'll see what the output looks like here when it comes to penalty minutes. But again, that means that the Seattle Kraken have to do a little bit better than 21st in the league overall, not even an 80% clip on the power play. Or excuse me, that's not 80% is the penalty kill. 18, not even 19%. If you round it, it's 19 on the power play. So we gotta do better. 19th overall on the penalty kill. I think we're likely going to see Joey Daccord in net. He's 12-6-2 for the Seattle Kraken, 2.42 goals against average. The goals against for the Seattle Kraken is at 2.97. So we're looking at about 3 goals. That's about just a touch less than what the Ottawa Senators, what they average. They average 3.1 goals for, and they give up 2.93 goals per game. That's just about where the Seattle Kraken are. We get 2.97 goals per game, obviously on average. You can't get 0.97 goals, although I'm sure sometimes folks try. When we look at the last 10 games, you've got the Seattle Kraken are 4-5-1. So again, ran out of juice, ran out of jam against Tampa Bay, but it's been win-loss since New Jersey. I guess you could say technically the Islanders. We won that game, lost to New Jersey, won against the Rangers, lost to Florida, won against Boston, lost against Tampa Bay. So by that trend, this should be a win for the Seattle Kraken. That being said, they're playing a Ottawa team that's 7-2-1 in their last 10. Who were they playing? Well, they've got San Jose there. You might say, oh, it's the San Jose Sharks. They got a win over them. Did we? Oh, okay. So there you go. They got a win over Nashville, Calgary. They also beat Carolina. They beat Anaheim. Did we? Lost to the Islanders, lost to the Kings. They also lost to Anaheim in a shootout and an OT win in Pittsburgh. So they've gone the distance in a few of their last 10 games, literally a couple. Shootout loss to Anaheim, OT win in Pittsburgh or to Pittsburgh. So, I'm curious to see how Ottawa comes out. Very curious, obviously, to see how the Seattle Kraken come out. You can't lose the juice at home. I mean, it's inevitable, I think, at some time that you're going to have a lull in your play. If you can help it, you can't do that at home. I've said this before, but it's also one of those, it's a pride thing, but it's also, hey, you got to be able to use the crowd to your advantage. And I want to see the Seattle Kraken do a little bit more of that. And I think they can do it. Mention that we are expecting to see Yanni Gourde. Dan wasn't very particular. He talked a lot about Matty Beniers, talked a little bit about the team in the last handful of games here. But I think the message, the charge is just to focus on what the team has focused on in practice. It was an optional skate today, and really get after it. And coming up on Locked On Kraken, I am going to give you, so it's kind of an extension of the stats and facts, but specific facts on why I'm going to give you my keys to the game, what I want to see against the Ottawa Senators for the Seattle Kraken to have success. That's coming up as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, brought to you once again by our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to bet on the National Football League, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, put down your nachos, go to the website, go to your app, and check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page where you place your NFL bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started once again with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. I don't know. I felt like a trumpet noise was needed right there. Best of luck on FanDuel. All right. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken. And, I'm looking at the notes that were sent over to us by the Seattle Kraken. First one, I say this a lot, but I'm going to tell you why I think it's important against Ottawa. Start on time. Start on time. I want aggressive play. I want us to dominate offensive zone time, shots on goal, and if we can also dominate the score in the first frame, that is going to be key. Why do I say that? When the opponent scores first against Ottawa, their record, are you ready for this? Their record is 2-11-2. I like those odds. When the Kraken get scored on first, 6-12-0. So the loss is around the same, but we have more wins in that scenario. 2 wins. 2 wins for Ottawa. Yeah, I want us to take advantage of that. Go get the game early. And when trailing after 2 periods, the Ottawa Senators are 0-10-0. Do I need to say more? We are 1-14-1 when we're trailing after 2. Go get this game. Whether you're looking at the Seattle Kraken numbers, whether you're looking at the Ottawa numbers, it is favorable if we go ahead and dominate the game. When you look at the goals by period, the Ottawa Senators tend to score in the first frame and the third frame. I want us to get it done in the first 40 minutes, because another thing that's going to happen if we're leading against Ottawa, and I alluded to this, and it goes into point number 2, play scrappy. Okay, I want us to win the board battles 50-50. Now, this is regardless. I say this regardless of if we're playing Ottawa. But why I think winning those 50-50 battles, being able to be the aggressors is important, is because you can guarantee. If there was a FanDuel line for this, I would put money on it. You can guarantee if this game doesn't go the way Ottawa wants, so if they're losing in the first frame, definitely if they're losing after 40 minutes, they're going to start wrecking it on the ice. And by then, I want the Seattle Kraken to be ahead in goals. I want them to be able to utilize that time to perfect and master the power play. And when you're leading, there's a little less of an onus, in theory, depending on how situations went down on the ice, but you're less likely to go after someone for a borderline hit when you're in the lead. I don't want the Seattle Kraken to get baited into playing a game that's not their game. Ottawa's going to bring it. We have to be scrappy early, take care of business early, and then let it go, more or less, for 20 minutes. That's what I want to see. Shots by period, the Ottawa Senators, they get their most shots up in the second frame. They don't score as much, and it's nominal, marginal, I guess I should say, increments, plus minus 3. But they're going to get a lot of shots up in the second period. When it comes to penalties, the penalty minutes average 8.5, which is 17th overall for Ottawa, 6.4, third overall for the Seattle Kraken. So we have fewer penalty minutes. So that's a good ranking for the Seattle Kraken. 204 penalty minutes to 256, kind of middle of the pack for Ottawa. So again, they're more likely to get in the box here. They score decently well. 5-on-5. They also give up a lot of 5-on-5 goals. They do not give up a lot of shorties. They don't give up a lot on the penalty kill. The Seattle Kraken, when we are shorthanded, we give up obviously more goals on the penalty kill. I went through some of those numbers. Power play could be better, could be worse. It has been worse, but it definitely could be better. So yeah, just some things to be mindful of in this game. A few other things that I think worth talking about as far as some players to watch. Shane Wright enters the contest with 7 points in his last 6 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. Brandon Montour enters the game leading all Blue Liners in goals, 8 goals and 20 points overall, on pace to surpass Jared McCann's 50 points in 21-22 for the most by a Kraken player in his first season with the club. Andrei Burakovsky enters tonight's game with 12 points, 2 goals, 10 assists in 19 career games against the Senators. Joey Daccord is 1-1-0 with a 1.53 goals against average and a .951 save percentage in just 2 career appearances versus Ottawa. 5-4-0 is Gruby's record, 213 goals against average, a .930 save percentage, and 1 shootout in 9 career appearances against the Senators. I do think we're likely to see Joey Dax, but let me know. What do you think? Who do you want to see in net? And what do you think about me saying get all of the work done early? And if Ottawa wants to throw a fit, let them have a fit and have to sulk about it after they lose at CPA. That's my big, bad, bold prediction. Start the game off early, attack the game, attack the 50-50 battles early in the game. Let them sulk and be mad, but don't get engaged in any of that. And of course, I would love to see Matty B get a goal. It would be great. 200th game, get him a goal, and everybody's happy. I think it's possible. I'm excited about this game. Of course, we'll have more for you on Locked On Kraken once we know the final score and get you ready for our next episode. Until then, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Hold fast. Stay true. Loud and proud, you say at CPA and throughout Kraken Nation. Let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.